Yep, I'm back with even more new candy recipes. And not only are these delicious, they're really fun to make. Hey y'all, I'm Valerie and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video, I'm sharing 5 easy Christmas candy recipes you have got to try. Okay y'all, let's get started. These chocolate peanut butter pretzel candies have to be my new favorite candy. And if you're a peanut butter lover like I am, I'm sure you'll love them too. So to make these, in a large bowl, I have 1 cup of creamy peanut butter. I did microwave mine to make it easier to mix. I also have 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. You're going to mix that until well combined. Now for the add-ins, I'm adding 1/2 cup of dry roasted salted peanuts. And I did put mine in this little chopper thing to chop them up really small. I also added 2/3 of a cup of pretzels, and I measured out 2/3 of a cup of the pretzels and then I crushed them. And I just put them in a Ziploc bag and beat them with my rolling pin. Now I'm just stirring all this together to get all those pretzels and peanuts all mixed in. And that's all there is to this filling. Now I'm grabbing my cookie sheet lined with a silicone liner. Oh, and I did put some wax paper down. You just want to put them on something, that way we can pop them in the freezer in a little bit. I'm using a 1.5 size cookie scoop for this, that way they're all the same size. And I scooped them onto the wax paper there, and then I tried to kind of flatten them out just a little bit, where they were more on the flatter side rather than on the round side. And I got 19 out of this recipe, but if you make them smaller, you can get a lot more. Now I'm popping mine in the freezer for about 2 hours until they're completely firm. And when they're ready, I'm going to go ahead and melt down some chocolate. I'm adding 1 small bag of the milk chocolate chips. It was like an 11-ounce bag. Oh, and I forgot to put water in my double boiler. Alright, y'all don't come for me here. I'm doing it. I'm adding 1/4 of this block of Gulf wax. Just 1/4 of the block. I did kind of chop mine up and shave it down. That way it melted a whole lot easier. If you want to, you can totally omit that. You can just use the chocolate chips, or if you want, you can use almond bark or even the candy melts. It is completely safe. My Mima has been using it for years. It gives the chocolate a glossy finish and it helps it to stay solid at room temperature, meaning it won't melt as easy in your hands. And when you get it all melted, you can go ahead and start dipping your candies. I just dip mine, flip them over, and kind of tap off the excess, and then place them back onto that wax paper lined cookie sheet. And y'all can watch me kind of make a mess while I try to reach around this tripod here. I should have been on the other side to start with, but oh well. And if you make a little boo-boo like I did, you just get some of that chocolate and you just fix it right on up. Trust me, they do not have to be perfect. And I'm just going to continue to dip these until I've dipped them all. I am going to drizzle these with some white chocolate in a little bit. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. You can leave them just like this, or you can add sprinkles. But if you do add sprinkles, I would add them kind of quickly because this chocolate does set up pretty fast. And if you want to make these into balls instead of doing them on the flatter side, you can. That's totally fine. You do what you feel like you want to do. These are yours, so make them your own. Now, I melted down some white chocolate and tried to drizzle and spoon it over, and that just wasn't doing the trick for me. So I ended up pouring it into a Ziploc bag, and I snipped the corner off, and I went to town. It was so much easier to just do a little zigzag, and it looked pretty. And here they are, they're done, and all we got to do is not touch them for a little bit and wait on them to set up. Y'all, these were absolutely delicious. If you try any of my candy recipes, you have to try this one. And look at that chocolate shine. That's what that wax does when you add it into the chocolate. It makes it very glossy. It gives it a sheen. and it looks really pretty, and it don't melt on your hands. But like I said, if you don't like it or don't want to use it, you can totally leave it out. These were amazing, out of this world good. And the pretzels and the peanuts in it gave it texture. They were perfect. This white chocolate cinnamon roll bark sounded so good, so I had to try it. I'm going to make up the cinnamon roll filling first. So in a medium-sized bowl, I have half a stick of melted butter. To that, I added 1/4 cup of brown sugar and a teaspoon of cinnamon. You're going to whisk that until it's well combined. We're going to set it aside for just a minute, and now we're going to melt down some chocolate. You'll need 12 ounces of white chocolate chips. I had an 11-ounce bag and then half of another bag, so I added that 11-ounce bag, and then I measured out another ounce and added that in too. That way I'd have 12 ounces total. I melted it in the microwave in 30-second intervals, stirring in between until it was completely melted. Oh, and if you'd rather use the vanilla almond bark or the candy melts for this, you can. They do melt down a little easier. I grabbed my baking sheet lined with a silicone liner, or you can line it with some wax paper. You're just gonna pour on that chocolate and then spread it out. Just spread it kind of evenly and pretty thin, but not too thin, kind of like almond bark thin. And now we're going to take that filling that we made up just a little bit ago, and you're going to spoon it evenly over the top of that chocolate. Okay, as I was doing this and swirling it all around, it just seemed like a lot of filling, and I was really afraid that it wouldn't set up. So I felt like I needed to add some more chocolate. I ended up melting down 5 more ounces of white chocolate and pouring that over the top. I just did not see all that butter firming up and being able to eat this like a good almond bark. And yes, at this point I thought I made a complete disaster because that chocolate on the bottom had already started to set up. But after I had poured that melted chocolate on top, it kind of softened up and kind of melted that chocolate on the bottom down a little more. I just worked it all the way to the edges, and then I just started to swirl. Now, next time I make this, I will reduce the butter in that filling. So maybe do 2 tablespoons of melted butter with maybe 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and the teaspoon of cinnamon. And I tried to make a pretty design here, and that chocolate was already setting up. So I went to my sprinkle cabinet and I pulled out those sprinkles. This is kind of like gold sanding sugar, I guess. And I just sprinkled them on top, and it did the trick. It made it look pretty. And when it's completely set, you can break it into pieces or cut it into pieces. This was so good, and I'll definitely be making it again. And this is something you can really make all year long. And just change up the sprinkles. You could add some colored candy melts for some color. But it really was delicious. And I'll be sure to put the original recipe in the description box below. And I also put the changes that I'll make when I do it again. These brownie truffles are addicting, and you have to try them. We're going to start out by making up a box brownie mix according to the directions on the back of the box. And here it is, and I've let it completely cool. Now you're going to grab a large bowl and add in your prepared brownies, and you're going to break them and smush them up into 1,000,000 pieces. Just crumble those things up. Now to those brownies, I'm adding a big heaping spoonful of chocolate frosting. Just the regular old chocolate frosting you buy in the little container at the store. And any kind you want, milk chocolate, dark chocolate, whatever you like. And you don't have to add too much, just a big spoonful. That way the brownies will hold together and you'll be able to roll them into a ball. You could also add in some chopped walnuts to these. That would be really good. Or you could add in some coconut or add whatever you like. Now that I'm thinking about it, pecans and coconut would be really good in here. I set those aside, and then I'm grabbing my cookie sheet lined with a silicone liner. You're just going to scoop up that brownie mixture. I'm using a 1.5 size cookie scoop. You're going to scoop it and roll it into a ball between your palms and place it onto that cookie sheet. You're going to roll those until you've used up all of your mixture. Now we're going to place these in the freezer or the refrigerator for a couple hours to chill. I just melted down some chocolate almond bark for these, but you could also do white chocolate. Oh, by the way, I used about 1/2 of a pack of that almond bark. And when it's completely melted, you're going to drop your brownie truffle down into that chocolate, roll it around, and pick it up, tap off that excess, and place it back onto the baking sheet. And if you want to add sprinkles, go ahead and do it kind of quickly before that chocolate has a chance to set up. And here they are. They look so cute and they were so good. I mean, you really can't go wrong with brownies or anything chocolate really. And you can use any kind of box brownie mix you want for these. And I had to show you the centers. They were chocolatey and fudgy and gooey and they were delicious. I'll definitely be making them again. I decided to make some candied cashews. Now, you can use any kind of nut you want, but I had a big old container of cashews that my Mima had brought over, so I thought they would be perfect for this. To make them, in a large bowl, you're going to add in 1 egg white. And don't worry, I'm not going to throw that yolk away. I'll use it when I make a chocolate pie. And yes, I accidentally got a shell in there, but I'll get that out. Okay, to that egg white, you're going to add 1 teaspoon of water and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And you can whisk this vigorously until it gets foamy, but I decided to use my hand mixer. So much easier. Now to that egg white, water, and vanilla, we're adding in 2 cups of cashews. Or you can use pecans or walnuts, whatever you want. You're just going to give it a good stir until all those nuts are completely coated in that mixture. Set that aside. Now, in a small bowl, you're going to add in 1/3 cup of granulated sugar and 1/3 cup of brown sugar, along with a teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And I left the salt out, but I wish I would have added it. Now I'm grabbing those cashews and I'm going to give it another really good stir to make sure it's all covered and coated. And then I'm going to take that sugar mixture that we just made up and I'm going to pour it on in. And you want to stir it until everything is evenly distributed and well combined. Now I'm grabbing a cookie sheet, and I did line mine with parchment paper. I highly suggest doing that for easy cleanup. It does get aggravating kind of trying to stir it in between, but it's totally worth it. You're just going to scoop on those cashews and spread them out into an even layer. Now these are going into the oven to bake at 250 for anywhere from 45 to 50 minutes. But every 15 minutes, you do want to get them out of the oven and give them a really good stir. And you'll see here, this was the first 15 minutes and they were still pretty wet, so they went back into the oven. You're just going to do that every 15 minutes. And here they are after baking for 30 minutes. And I started to stir them and they looked kind of dry. But after I stirred them, they were not completely dry. So I spread them back out, spread them into an even layer, and put them back into the oven. And here they are after 45 minutes. And they were completely dry and perfect. I gave them another stir. And then we're going to let these sit out on the counter just until they're completely cool, and then they're ready to serve. And here they are. They were delicious, and I can't wait to try these with pecans. I cannot believe I've waited this long to try candied nuts. We all loved them. Well, Lacey said that she would prefer me to not use the cinnamon next time. Other than that, they were so good. I seen this 2-ingredient German chocolate fudge and I had to try it. In a large bowl, you're going to add in 1 bag of the Hershey's milk chocolate chips. This was an 11.5 ounce bag. You're also going to add in 1 container of coconut pecan frosting. By the way, I had found this one on TikTok and I was very interested to try it. And now we're going to microwave this in 30-second intervals until it's completely melted. And here it is. It seemed a little runnier than your average fudge. But I gave it a really good stir and then I'm ready to put it into the dish. Or the pan. I'm using a 9 by 9 inch square baking pan and you do want to line it with foil. That way you can lift the fudge out when it's done. And you're just going to pour it all in there and spread it all out. And this has got me thinking I really want to try the old-fashioned fudge. I've never made it, but I really want to try it. I've got it all in there and I'm just shaking it out to kind of level it out. And this is going into the refrigerator until it's completely set. And with it being a little looser than your average fudge, I would leave it for a few hours. This was so good. It was delicious. I would make one change here though. Well, I'll let you decide. It was very soft. It was a lot softer than your average fudge. Now, I did keep it in the refrigerator, so it stayed nice and firm and set up. But if you leave it out at room temperature, it is way too soft. Now, there's nothing wrong with it just like this. It was delicious. But I'll show you here in a second what it looks like if you let it sit out at room temperature. And I wish I would have thought about this when I made it, but I remembered last year someone had commented and said that they like to make the 2-ingredient fudge and roll it into a ball and then roll that into like chopped pecans or coconut, and that would be perfect for this. It would be like a little pecan-covered, coconut-covered German chocolate truffle, and that would be delicious. And I'm definitely going to try those. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You may also like these. Don't forget to subscribe down below for more easy recipes, and I will see you in the next one.